The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, said that he would have removed fuel subsidies and also floated the Naira, but says he would have done it in a more organized manner. We looked at the very popular interview that he had, of course, on the Arise News channel with the morning show anchor Rufai Oseni, who handled the interview. We decided to focus particularly on the Naira, and also we're going to be talking about electricity as well. Here's a part of that clip.
The same thing with what you're talking about, issue of Naira. There's nothing wrong with floating your currency. There's nothing wrong in even devaluing your currency. But you do this when you have productivity. What devaluation or floating does is that your currency becomes, in terms of value, low. You attract investment.
So would you have floated the Naira if you got in? And how? You said there's nothing wrong with it. Would you have floated the Naira? Tell me the precept upon precept at which you will have floated the Naira.
I would have been doing it in an organized manner.
What's the organized manner?
I would have focused on making sure that we ramp up production in agriculture, in manufacturing, and everything, and do it gradually.
So you will have kept on defending it until we wrap up production.
It's not, you're not defending it.
Yeah.
Because even in the so-called currency, there were criminality as well.
All right, Arise Business Analyst Chika Mbonu, who are putting on the spot to react to that part of the interview, joins us this morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
How are you today?
Fine, sir.
Hope you enjoyed the holiday.
Yes, we did. So yeah, I mean, you've talked a lot about foreign exchange. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Oil, fuel subsidy, everything. So, what do you make of?
Okay, notice.
Yeah.
The first thing that we know, we don't do politics now.
Of course, we do not.
We don't do politics.
We focus on the economics.
Yeah. We don't speak to make anybody look bad.
Yeah.
We try to balance and make sure that we're doing what's best for our country.
Of course.
And that's always what to anchor our discussion on. You see, I always say that we've tried to be consistent too. Even during the Buhari regime, long before some issues came up, I remember, what was this former governor of Edo State? Obaseki.
Yeah.
Was the first person who he pushed it out and said the country is broke and is printing money. And everybody came and attack him.
Right.
And the issue was the equation didn't balance. We knew that the equation didn't balance. I've said it several times that we're a broke country. I said it one time to you.
Yep.
And that we cannot sustain the fuel subsidy. We can also sustain the subsidized Naira.
Right.
So that's sometimes this program. And that, therefore, what did we have before? We have money, we bring in the fuel at subsidized rates. Half of it goes across our borders. The people who are supposed to get the benefits of it don't get it. So we'll say this several times in this program that, luckily, it wasn't typical politics for the politicians. The four presidential candidates, had it in their manifesto. Yep. They were going to remove subsidy, and they were going to float the currency. So that was given because anybody who didn't do it, to power, the country was broke. Right. There's no way we could have sustained it. Now the issue has been how I would have done it differently.
Right.
I would have put the cart before the horse or horse before the cart, and that has been the typical political thing. I mean, no politicians, the opposition always wants to ride through what the people in power are doing. But you see, I keep saying that governance is different from campaigning.
Right.
Okay? During the campaigns, you do have your grandiose manifestos and promises to the electorate. Yeah. I will do this for you, I'll do it to you. Once you enter into the house, the office, like somebody close to me say that, they'll tell you who killed President Kennedy. Yeah. Immediately you will come down and then start to adjust your dreams and promises to the electorate to the realities on the ground, which include the fact that do we have money for this, or do we have money for that? The other thing that plays out also in politics is that, I put this out to you, is that the politicians, whether it's in the first world or the third world, their eyes are always on the next election. The next election. So the issue is therefore, any decision you want to take now, so there are a lot of interests that play around the decision you're going to take now. Is, would this help our election in 4 years' time or 5 years' time? Our base, are they going to profit from it? Are we going to empower some people? Remember, a boss president will require money for campaign. Let's give this contract to these particular people so that they'll be empowered for 20 whatever, And so a lot of things happen. And then a president that succeeds is one that is very sincere, has leadership abilities, loves his people, citizens naturally, that he wants to succeed. Because a lot of times the president can be everywhere. He has a lot of people who are surrounding him to help him in run the government. And those people have their own a lot of agenda. So for them it's like, I shall not be poor again. That's the number one agenda. That I've gotten to this office now and I shall not be poor again. So they're accumulating wealth. They are doing things. Every contract that passes their table, they're grabbing something. Some people want to be governor or something else when they live there because governor seems to be the most lucrative post in Nigeria. So some people want to leave the presidency and want to be governor of their state. So they're also interested in that. So people have the agenda. So the president of the country, especially for Nigeria and a lot of the third world countries, must be that one person who's strong, competent, and has the love of the Nigerian citizens in that. And for me, I know President Tinubu very well. I've said this several times here that I've have close work with him. I know he's very competent. Now, does he have the same energy level that he had that time? I don't know. And so the issue, therefore, is that I want to let him know that Nigerians are suffering, totally suffering. So I don't know what to tell him. I remember those days when Buhari was around. The people were going around, side Buhari, and that he was hoodwinked. And they see by the fact that he was popular, that things will happen. Meanwhile, he was running a very bad government. So for the government in power, therefore, those two issues, tie them to Obi's interview. Like I said, Obi is not in power. And as I said, when you're aside as an opposition, it's easy to say, I will do this, they're doing this wrong and whatever. And the day you get into power, you just find out that they're contending issues. But what do we have against? So the president will have now, the first day came and said, subsidy is gone. It's gone. So, the beautiful thing about economics is that people say, on the one hand, and then on the other hand. And so, if you have two economists and give them issue to address, they may not have the same solution. So, some will say, he should have waited, he should have done this, he should have done that. But you see, he did that is shock therapy for the whole system. But what I have against them is, again, the work required to make sure that things work out right. Now, if you do fuel subsidy withdrawal, if you float foreign currency, which is, it don't require a rocket scientist to tell you that inflation will be up. Are you following me? And the purchasing power of individuals, Nigerian citizens, they therefore will tank. So somebody is anywhere million naira today or 50,000 naira today, and then the next day he buys a cup of rice today or a bundle of rice today, 10,000 naira. The next day he's cost that. So the problem. So the issue is, how have they run this show? And for me, a lot of the problems for this government have to do with transparency. Transparency, they're not very transparent in the way they communicated a lot of things. The subsidy should have been removed, yes. They should have done better, we said in this program. You remember I praised the Lagos segment here. If you look at the spending profile of a lot of citizens, especially at the bottom of the pyramid, a lot of it goes to food.
And transportation.
So they had initiative of importing food. Did it work?
That's still up there.
I remember a time I wrote to support transportation, which I understood was a problem. CNG was a major problem. Everywhere you go, CNG. What have you heard about CNG since then? Now, rail projects known worldwide as the best means of transportation for the bottom of the pyramid. Now, the Buhari government had a lot of rail projects. The Tinubu government came into power and said the major thing for them was the Lagos-Calabar
Coastal Road.
And a lot of the railway projects were suspended. So could we have gotten more value if that money was put into the rail projects to finish them And so citizens can profit from that.
Right.
Move goods from north to south, move citizens from one city to another city.
Yep.
Would have been better. Again, priorities. So that's the other thing. Okay? So fuel subsidy, with the foreign exchange, same thing. How, they came together. So it's easy to be answered and say criticized. But for me, the issue with the Tinubu government is what I call transparency. You will see Uncle Omahi training himself every time, trying to convince us that white is black and black is white, all those kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we know that it doesn't work that way. So that's the major issue.
Yeah.
They should communicate better, be a little more transparent in the things they do, and sacrifice. You can't tell us that there's no money. I remember those days when we were in boarding school, when we were sharers of food. They said the meat is not enough, the meat is not enough. Class 2 were the sharers. The meat is not enough, everybody's just managed. And then when you open the sharers, the bottom of the sharers, right, you see a piece of meat lying there. And they want all of us to sacrifice.
Yeah.
What happens after that is we'll end up in fighting.
Yeah.
So you can see opulence, convoy of about 100 Prado Jeeps. Meanwhile, not bought in Nigeria.
Right, imported.
Imported cars.
Yeah, with foreign exchange.
Things happening left and right. Meanwhile, citizens of the country are suffering. So let us, if you're telling the citizens, okay, I've suspended this, I've done this, and then the president, our president just went that time, the new jet is okay. I mean, aviation, I understand why he needed to do that.
Yeah.
I learned, a lot of things were happening that spoke of opulence.
Yeah.
So what do you have of that? A lot of money has come into the hand of state governors, but we're still owing pensions.
And salaries.
We're still owing salaries. Governors are, so you see the point that miscommunication is there. Because Obi said it. A lot of money has come out from the subsidy. Something. What do we do with it?
I want to quickly get your thoughts on electricity. We had a guest earlier on this morning. I just want to take a listen to what he said about the transmission angle of this was on the morning show this morning.
The Goodluck Jonathan administration do back in 2013? They first and foremost privatized the generation and they privatized the distribution, but they left the transmission unprivatized. Actually, they first handed over the privatization to a Canadian company, Manitoba, but they took it back into government control. Now, without privatizing or bringing in private sector participation in the transmission, made that privatization to be dead on arrival. And how do I mean? Maybe for the benefit of our viewers, I'm from Benue, so let me use agriculture, which a lot of people may connect with. Let's say you want to privatize the agricultural value chain. So you privatize the farms, and then you privatize the markets. But you did not do anything about the vehicles that will carry the food produced in the farms to the market. What have you done? You've done nothing. Why? Because the people who are to produce the food can't produce food because there are no vehicles to carry the food to the market. And then the people in the market are waiting for food to come and food is not coming. And that is what the Goodluck Jonathan administration did. So that is the first big issue with electricity supply.
Well, you've talked a lot about electricity.
It is not as simplistic enough to dimension the problem of the electricity sector and say it's just transmission. Of course, we know that in the electricity value chain, the weakest link has been the transmission segment. And it's not as simple as also saying that we need to put it into private sector hands.
Yeah.
Because an audit of the discos, who are the private sector hands, Genco's private sector hands, is also a litany of failures.
Well, of course.
Even though the private sector led. I mean, they've promised us so many things, signed so many agreements on this thing, even fooled us with this so-called, what is it? Band A and Band B, yet that, one of the senators I was listening to that I respect, Senator Baribe, I think it was interviewed by one of us, I think in the Abuja studio, and said, they were asking why, he's the chairman of the Senate Committee on Power, they're asking why the failure. And he said, see, that there's a 4 trillion debt that is there. And each government, when they come to power, they just see that thing and just...
they run
away. So, just like the president has been very brave in handling the oil subsidy, he needs also to get into the power segment.
Yeah.
And also brave in dealing with the NNPC.
Right.
With what they have done with the board and management.
Yeah.
he needs to go into the power segment also and be very brave. And if one finger needs to be cut off so that the person will leave, when someone is cancerous, you can do whatever to make sure the individual leaves.
Yeah.
He has to do it. Are you following me?
Yeah.
There's the GENCOs, the DISCOs, GENCOs, the transmission company, and the DISCOs.
Yeah.
Each of them have their problems.
Yeah.
Okay. Transmission company, we don't understand the reasons. National asset, national security, and so on and so forth. That's why they left it to government. But let it be properly run.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to have funny people running it. It can be run properly.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be only this thing, what do you call it? Private sector led.
Yeah.
The other ones are already private sector led.
Yeah.
So that's the point. So the problem in the sector is not just transmission. The problem is through the whole value chain.
Yeah.
Each element of the value chain has problems. And the president just needs to be brave.
And just do what needs to be
And
done.
take the decisions required.
Yeah.
Including resolution of the 4 trillion debt.
Debt.
And the government is still part shareholder in a lot of the discos. A lot of things can be done.
Yeah.
Total restructuring. The issue has always been, how do we unbundle what we have done? How do we do this? But some things can be done. But it requires bravery and consultation.
We'll see how things work out. All right, Business Analyst Chika Mbonu, thank you so much for talking through exchange rate fuel subsidy and also what to do about the electricity sector. Thank you so much for your time.